Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, the current president of Turkey, is...
Do you want to say that again?
Maybe he will also claim the US. Who knows?
In the book Life Cycle of a Populist, Populism and its Trajectory in Turkey, I try to bring a kind of temporality or time into an otherwise static definition of populism. What I'm trying to do in that book is to argue that populism and its relation to democracy can only better be understood if we focus on a populist trajectory. Trajectory starting from an opposition leader or an opposition party criticizing the established regime. At some point, when they are in power, populists inevitably will come to a point of decision, whether they will insist on being populist and will be out of the democratic system and can only insist on that argument in authoritarian way, or they have to stop being a populist. So, in other words, that's the life cycle, that the populism starts and ends at some point in the career of a political actor or a party. Justice and Development Party came to power in 2002 when the military, judiciary and bureaucratic elite at the time still had power enough to play a veto role in Turkish politics. After a while, Justice Development Party was able to take over almost entirely the state institutions and control and consolidate its power. And populism played a significant role in this process, but not from the very beginning. 2002 and 2007, these years, they generally represent themselves in opposition to the previous Islamist parties in Turkey, not necessarily in opposition to the establishment. They underlined at the time their pro-European Union policies. They underlined their willingness to follow liberal democratic institutions and values and secularism. 2007 started with a constitutional crisis in Turkey. This is the moment when Justice and Development Party shifted their opposition or antagonism from their previous Islamist parties and emphasize their anti-establishment and populist rhetoric. So social democrats, liberals, the Kurds, many religious minorities even, with different reasons, had problem with the ruling elite and the establishment, lined up, so to speak, behind the AKP. And the AKP's populism was successfully create this alliance. Now, this is the moment where AKP in our case in Turkey, or populists in general, came to a moment of decision. When they became the power, they control, in our case the AKP controlled the state institutions, able to eliminate the ruling elite, and became itself the establishment. And a democratic claim raised, as it did in Gezi Park. A very simple democratic claim to stop and destruction of a park. Now the populist at this moment needs to decide whether this democratic demand is also a voice of the people, but at this moment the populist needs to give up the populist claim that I and only I represent the people, or insist on the exclusive claim over the voice of the people and claim all these democratic voices and actors and different demands as illegitimate, even criminal. But what Gezi Parks did is to reveal this claim and its wrongness, that the AKP is the voice of the people. And there's no longer an establishment, but the AKP is responsible for all these problems that Turkey had at the time. And the AKP responded by insisting on the populist claim. Hence, the authoritarianism become more visible starting with Gezi.